Welcome to this eye-opening expose video where we take a dive into the wild world of Quora online abuse support spaces. These are support groups for victims who have been abused by people with narcissistic personality disorder. Today we're zooming in on three characters, Rose, Lin Ritter, and Nick Horeton, who run several of these abuse victim support groups. Spoiler alert, they're not exactly who they pretend to be. Now, I'm no psychologist, but we've watched these guys in action and they sure act like narcissistic abusers themselves. Should they really be giving advice to victims of abuse? First up is Rose, who's earned the nicknames Pick Misha and Ratchet Rose due to her, let's say, less than classy online behavior. Several people have come forward complaining about her bullying and controlling ways. At least 40 abuse victims that we know of have been blocked from the support groups simply because Rose decided she didn't like them. Her favorite tactic is to block people and then gaslight them by claiming it was them that blocked her. She'll even go so far as to make up blatant lies, painting them as villains and smearing their reputations. There's also the recent smear campaign she ran against DNT where she made false claims about him.
She wanted a serious relationship with DNT. He didn't return her affections and rejected her. She took her frustration onto Quora, where she decided to air her dirty laundry in public. This is when she spun a tale about her exit from the relationship, all while conveniently leaving out the truth about her own crazy and erratic behavior. For 5 months, she painted herself as a victim, forcing him to defend himself against her smear campaign. She tried to ruin his reputation by telling people she had dumped him for abusing her. It was all a lie. They had actually only talked for a few weeks online. When asked for evidence of this alleged abuse in text messages, she could provide none. She would just change the subject or reply with nonsensical word salad. She was just doing it to save face. Her ego was hurt after being rejected by him, and she was determined to make him pay.
But here's where it gets even more sordid. DNT isn't the only man on Quora that's had dealings with Rose. Many men have come forward to say she had targeted them too. It seems Rose has a rather colorful approach to dealing with her romantic failures. She has targeted several different men who all report that they have also been victim of her crazy behavior. And just like she did with DNT, she branded them all as abusive narcissists, and then smeared them online. The result? Her entire harem of male friends fled, leaving her with no sources of narcissistic supply. Starved of attention from men, and in a desperate bid to avoid a narcissistic collapse, Rose decided to try and seduce them back. Another Quora user that witnessed these events told us what happened next.
She sent them explicit and unwanted photos of her vagina and audio recordings of herself masturbating, trying to use sex to lure these men back. All the guys she targeted had blocked her, so she used a number-disguising app to bypass their blocks and sent them explicit pictures and audios of herself having orgasms. Every time they blocked her, she would just use the app and message them from a different number. She literally bombarded their phones daily with dozens of messages. It was crazy. Talk about taking desperate measures. Her stalking and harassment of these guys kind of reminded me of Glenn Close's character in the movie Fatal Attraction.
Now, let's turn our attention to Lin Ritter, also known on Quora as Bin Critter, a nickname given to her by other members of the Cluster B community who have had run-ins with her.
Lin is about trying to look good online, thanks to her heavily filtered photos that make her appear decades younger than she really is.
The real kicker? Lin appears to be in her teens on her profile pictures due to a dozen filters, but in reality she is an elderly woman in her 70s. Her true self was exposed in a meme comparing her glam selfies to her unfiltered reality. Lin was understandably mortified at being exposed as a catfish. It begs the question why she went to such desperate measures. Is Lin a predator that wanted to appear younger to prey on young guys? Or, like Rose, did she do it to get narcissistic supply because she's desperate to get attention and validation from men online?
But that's not all. It looks like Lin tried to deceive her followers by posting a possibly fake ID online. Lin was accused of making many alt profiles on Quora and impersonating other users, and in an effort to prove who she was, she posted an ID card. However, as we can see, the ID has a picture of a woman that is at least 40 years younger than Lin. Why all the deception? Is she just ashamed of her age and looks, or is she running some sort of scam on Quora?
And let's not forget Nick Horeton, the final piece of this predatory and quite frankly worrying puzzle.
Nick is a shady character who runs a narcissistic abuse space while juggling a history of legal troubles related to abuse and harassment of women. He has appeared in the Telegraph and the Daily Mail newspapers for abusing and harassing 2 ex-girlfriends, his ex-wife and his sister.
Given his own questionable and abusive past, his role as a supporter of abuse victims seems a bit suspect. Do his followers, many of whom have suffered abuse themselves, know that the person offering them advice and supposed support has a history of being an abuser himself?
Now, let's dive into the real roles of the Malicious Trio. They might present themselves as supportive figures on the surface, but in reality, all 3 of them are toxic bullies. Many people have reported that they have been targeted by one or all 3 of them. Rose, Lin, and Nick use their positions as group admins and moderators to bully and will block anyone who speaks up or disagrees with them. They will also block anyone they see as a threat. If you're smart, good-looking, or younger than them, you're probably already blocked from their spaces. It's all a power trip disguised as support, with a side of narcissistic cyberbullying.
Here's where things get even more sinister. Rose, Lin, and Nick aren't just pretending to be caring and supportive to gain narcissistic supply. They've also got a whole army of alt profiles between them. That's right, they've created numerous fake accounts to upvote their own posts and also to make it look like they have tons of supporters when they run their smear campaigns against others. They also use these alts to gang up on and harass other Quora users. These guys seem to spend all day long online signing in and out of these fake profiles in either a desperate bid to get narcissistic supply or to support their false narratives when smearing their victims. It's essentially all a ploy to manipulate and deceive their followers. But the story doesn't end there. Let's talk about how they maintain their grip on power. Rose, Lin, and Nick don't stop at bullying. They've taken it a step further by falsely reporting posts as child sex abuse, causing users' posts to be unfairly deleted. They also use their alt profiles to mass report content, trying their hardest to get users banned. Several users have had their profiles edit blocked or outright banned just for speaking up against them. On top of that, they spread lies and rumors about others, accusing them of having multiple alt profiles or doing the very things they themselves are guilty of. It's all projection, petty and malicious. Just take a look at the posts on their profiles and you'll see daily toxicity and smearing of other users. If your posts get reported, don't stay silent. Write an email to Quora Moderation, explain that your posts were unfairly targeted and they will likely be restored. Don't let these bullies drive you away from Quora. They even have conversations with their own alt profiles. Yes, they're basically talking to themselves. Not quite an Oscar-winning performance, but they might get a part if they ever make a sequel of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So what's the takeaway from today's expose? While Rose, Lin, and Nick might appear to be the supportive and helpful admins and moderators at first glance, their online and offline antics reveal a very different story. So, if you're an abuse victim yourself and are looking for spaces where you can get advice and support, please be wary of people like Rose, Lin, and Nick, who are wolves in sheep's clothing. For anyone seeking genuine help, protect yourself online. Make sure to connect with compassionate and trustworthy individuals who have your best interests at heart. And remember, when it comes to online support, always look beyond the cheap photoshopped facade. Oh, and be sure to stay vigilant for those sneaky alt profiles.